You seamen bold that plough the ocean, see dangers landsmen never care to know. The sun comes down on old England's nation, no tongue can tell what you undergo. Through bitter storms in the height of battle, now mark you well what I do say, where those thundering cannons loud do rattle, there's no back door to run away. Of a full-dressed ship there was a captain, a long time they had been drove on sea. The weather proved to them deceitful, which brought them to extremities. Nothing on board, poor souls to nourish, nor yet to strengthen feeble arms. Poor fellows all were nearly starving, the men were naught but skin and bone. Cats, bats, rats and dogs, how they did eat them, hunger proving to them severe. Captain and men of one direction, they each of them took equal shares. At length, the hour came upon them, the hour came on them bitterly. Poor fellows all stood titter-totter, casting lots as to who should die. The lot was cast on one poor fellow who had a wife and a child on shore. But the thought of eating our fellow creature, 'twas this that grieved them 10 times more. I'm willing to die, this young man answered, but to the topmast haste away. Perhaps some help you may discover, while I unto the Lord do pray. Our captain cried he spied a vessel about a league from us or more. Some signals of distress were fired, and straightway for us away she bore. And soon we had provisions plenty, and far from all such deadly fear, to see the pity they took upon us, you could not help but shed a tear. And now we're happy in old England, and far from all such deadly fears. We'll raise a glass to our wives and our sweethearts, and all of them that hold us dear. May God protect all jolly sailors, and all who plough the raging main. May they never know no more such trials, and never see the like again. You can talk of your outturns, your hoolies, your ceilidhs, dinners, your dances, your parties and all. Hark while I tell you the crack that we had, night that we went to the CHARLADIES ball. I was there with your man, he was dressed like Queen Anne, with a star out of Woolworths tied up on his head. Wee Willie Whitehouse, dressed up like a lighthouse, Grafton Street and Mary's, all diamonds and stars. At the CHARLADIES ball we were there one and all, yet the pride of the coup, Mrs. Mulligan. With your one steps and your two steps and your devil knows what new steps, we swore that we'd never stand still again. We had wine, we had porter, we had Jamesons, we had brandy and cocktails galore. We had fangos and tangos, offsets and randangos, night that we went to the CHARLADIES ball. Some cowboys and Indians up from Drumcondra, Grafton Street and Mary's, all diamonds and stars. One of the Roonies was a clock over Mooney's, telegraph boy had a message from Mars. Now the pride of the coup, she was there in one room, she was chained, drinking pints without spilling a drop. Peggy from Pullbeck was there with a one leg, she won that first prize at the one-legged hop. At the CHARLADIES ball we were there one and all, yet the pride of the coup, Mrs. Mulligan. With your one steps and your two steps and your devil knows what new steps, we swore that we'd never stand still again. We had wine, we had porter, we had Jamesons, we had brandy and cocktails galore. We had fangos and tangos, offsets and randangos, night that we went to the CHARLADIES ball. Now as I walked down by the seaside, all for to take my leisure, well, a little sailor I espied, I loved him without measure. He'd a jacket blue and trousers too, I loved him without measure. Says he, my dear, if you'll prove true, then I never will deceive you. Now when 3 long years were past and gone, poor girl, how she kept weeping, well, to think her sailor was untrue, and his promise was not keeping. As she walked down by the seaside, but she happened to discover a ship lie broached off Portsmouth beach, high and on it was her lover. Well, he quickly anchored all on shore with his great store of riches. She went to meet him on the plain, and he gave her sweetly kisses. Says he, my dear and turtle dove, since you have proved so constant, well, to church we'll go, I and married be, and we'll say no more about it. Then hand in hand to church they went, I and married were next morning. Now he lives at home with his Polly dear, no more to cross the ocean. In NEWRY town where I was bred and born, St. Stephen's Green where I died in scorn, I served my time at the saddler's trade, and I always was a roving blade. At 17 I took a wife, I loved her dear as I loved my life. And to maintain a fine and gay, Robin went on the king's highway. I never robbed no poor man yet, nor any tradesman caused I to fret. I robbed both lords and ladies gay, and returned home to the king's highway. I robbed Lord Goldring, I do declare, and Lady Mansell in Grosvenor Square. I shut the shutters, bid them good night, and returned home to me heart's delight. To Covent Garden I made my way, with my blooming wife to view a play, where feelings gang to me pursue, taken I was by that cursed crew. My father cried, I am undone, my mother wept for her darling son. My wife, she tore her golden hair, what shall I do? I'm in deep despair. And when I'm dead and in my grave, a costly funeral let me have. 6 highwaymen to carry me, give them broadswords and sweet liberty. Oh, 6 pretty fair maids to bear my pole, give them white gloves and ribbons all. And when I'm dead they'll speak the truth, he was a wild and a wicked youth. All my friends are married, every Tom and Dick and Harry. Must be strong if you're to go it alone. Here's to the bachelors and the Barry bums, those who think that they're the ones who are better off without a wife. Now I've been sleeping till the crack of noon, midnight howling at the moon. I've been going out when I wanna, and coming home when I please. Don't need to ask permission when I go out fishing. Don't even have to ask for the key. Oh well, I've never been no Valentino. Met a girl who lived in Reno, left me for a trumpet player, but it didn't get me down. Now he was wanted for assault, although he swore it wasn't his fault. You know, the cops, they rolled him right out of town. Now I've been sleeping till the crack of noon, midnight howling at the moon. I've been going out when I wanna, and coming home when I please. Don't need to ask permission when I go out fishing. Don't even have to ask for the key. I am a sailor by my right, and on the seas I did take delight. It's of 2 women did he beguile, and both of them they proved a child. He promised to be true to both, bound himself with a sacred oath, and one of them he made his wife, the other took her own sweet life. She hanged herself all to a tree, 2 men out hunting did I see. They ran with speed, they cut her down, and in her bosom this note they found. And there was writ in letters large, "Oh, bury me not, I do you charge. But on the ground there let me lie, that maids may see me as they pass by. Let them take warning by my fate, and quit all folly before it's late. And as she said, she haunted him so that to the seas he was forced to go. While he's on earth I will be just, while he's on earth he shall take no rest. And as she said, she plagued him so that to the seas he was forced to go. This young man stood upon the mainmast high, a little boat he chanced to spy. Saw his true lover come to the side, two angel babies all by his side. His ghostly love all on the deck did stand, enquiring for this cursed man. In some little town this young man died, and in that place his body lies. Captain, Captain, now don't say so, I see him clear in the hold below. And if you stand in his defence, I am the spirit that will fetch you hence. If you don't bring him now to me, a mighty storm you soon shall see, which will cause you gallant men to weep, and leave you slumbering in the deep. Down from the deck the captain goes, dragged up this young man to face his foes. She fixed her eyes on him so grim, it made him tremble in every limb. I am the spirit brought for thee, you deceived me once, but I've got you now. And to protect both ship and men, down to the deck they forced him then. Down on a deck they forced him, down on a deck he was forced to go. And as she did, we did admire, the boat sank down in a flame of fire. And as it sank, she rose again, and as she sang this mournful strain, you sailors all who are left behind, never prove false to young womankind. Oh, now, Father, dearest Father, I fear you've done me harm. You have married me a boy, and I fear he is too young. Oh, daughter dear, come and stay at home with me, and a lady you shall be while he's growing. It's T to stand for Thomas, I do know, and J-O-N stands for John. And it's W to stand for sweet William boy, but me Johnny he's a handsomest man. I'll buy me love a hat, the finest in the town. I'll make her look so proud, I will march her up and down. Besides, I'll buy you ribbons to tie up in your hair, just to let the ladies know that you've married. If I was to climb a lofty old oak tree, or rob a young bird of its nest, and if ever I come down without e'er a fall, I'm married to the lad I love the best. It's T to stand for Thomas, I do know, and J-O-N stands for John. And it's W to stand for sweet William boy, but me Johnny he's the handsomest man. As I passed by the high castle wall, I seen a pretty gentleman a-playing at the ball. Says he, where's your true lover, the finest of them all? Your bonny lad is younger, but he's growing. It's T to stand for Thomas, I don't know, and J-O-N stands for John. And it's W to stand for sweet William boy, but me Johnny he's the handsomest man. Now so early in the morning, at the dawning of the day, they went to the fields to find some sport and play. And what they did there, well, she never did declare, but he never more complained about his growing. At the age of 16 he was a married man. At the age of 17 a father to a son. At the age of 18 he was dead and in the ground. That soon put an end to his growing. It's T to stand for Thomas, I don't know, and J-O-N stands for John. And it's W to stand for sweet William boy, but me Johnny, he's the handsomest man. Now the grass is dool green and the trees are all in bloom. The time has long since passed that you and I've seen. For once I had a true love, but now I've never one. So fare thee well, me own true love forever. I once met a man who once met a man who dug the roads, told me about his work and day, picking his way through the rocks and clay. I once met a man who once met a man who dug the roads. I once met a man who once met a man who laid the rails, told me about the permanent way, picking his way through sweat each day. I once met a man who once met a man who laid the rails. I once met a man who once met a man who dug for coal, lived in fear that creak and sound that entombs good men underground. I once met a man who once met a man who dug for coal. I once met a man who once met a man who sailed to sea. He knew all about cruelty, the wheels on his back from the Admiralty. I once met a man who once met a man who sailed to sea. I once met a man who once met a man who went to war, stood knee deep in the blood and gore, said what the hell are we fighting for? I once met a man who once met a man who went to war. I once met a man who once met a man who was shot at dawn. Wife and kids back in old Blighty, landed in the workhouse 1, 2, 3. I once met a man who once met a man who was shot at dawn. I once met a man who 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 made the rules. He'd been to all the right schools, learned to make his monies on the backs of fools. I once met a man who 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 made the rules. Oh, I wanna meet a man, I wanna meet a man who light a fire, speak up in a voice that's clear and free, strike a match for humanity. Oh, I wanna meet a man, oh, I wanna meet a man who light a fire. I once met a man who once met a man who dug the roads, laid the rails, dug for coal, went to sea, went to war, was shot at dawn, who took those rules and lit a fire.